Hi, Bill. So here again, your friendly local constitutional Kook from California. I have some great news for all of you, and we'll see what comes up when the new term with the nine justices of the Supreme Court opens in October. But I have just gotten very arguably the biggest win in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court, albeit unofficially, just in a felony case I worked on for quite a while from the Midwest. And my friend there got the maximum sentence, 3 to 15 years for being a meth addict, which isn't a crime. And he got convicted of being a habitual offender because he got convicted 20 years ago of the same thing. And we tried everything in sight, just like you do in your cases, whether it's criminal, HOA, evictions, mortgage banksters, you name it. The difference is I knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And we had, in this case, a 52-page writ of habeas corpus, unopposed. Page 1, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, Constitution for the United States can't be suspended except in cases of rebellion or invasion. But this document was taken care of by the clerk of court who converted it, as it were, to 28 USC 2254, not only in an enactment of Congress that we don't need and you don't need, but a war act of the 39th Congress. And I sent that to the justices of the Supreme Court, that writ. But I also sent what I call the RDCV version, which for old farts like me is Reader's Digest condensed version. And I said, I know you can't answer these questions right now, but the RDC version, 3 pages, confrontation and cross-examination, and effective assistance of counsel, everyday arguments that will hardly even raise an eyebrow unless you get someone like me that knows what they're really looking at. And they got some phone calls in the governor's office to tell them to take care of business. And out of nowhere, the case gets put back on the docket of the state Supreme Court, quote unquote. And later, they have a parole hearing set out of nowhere after my second communication. And my friend is released 17 months into a maximum sentence of 3 to 15 years. That doesn't happen. The jurisdiction involved didn't do that, out of the goodness of their hearts. They got ordered to do it, albeit unofficially, by the justices of the Supreme Court to avoid having to rule on the issues now. I can live with that. And we're now in the process of going for redress of grievance. That's going to be a great interest to a lot of you out there because there are no statutes of limitations on deceit, fraud, and treason that we can prove. And we can do it even with the record that's constructively there in the trial court, and which would have been there had you had anything remotely related to effective assistance of counsel. Because we don't know, they don't teach you jack shit in high school. They didn't teach me 60 years ago. Much better education in a lot of ways, by the way. Didn't have to deal with all this transgender BS crap in the elementary schools, for crying out loud, based on the 14th War Amendment. But I had never heard any of this, and I went to school right outside of Washington, D.C., crying out loud. So that's how bad it is. But good news, because redress is just around the corner. And when this case comes through, this is a barn burner, because we can now say to the perps in your case, look what's just happened here. And counsel, my good friend counsel, is going to do the same thing to you. And if you have an LLC, we're going to push your ass out of business and see how you like being homeless or in debt or what have you. The Constitution remains in full force and effect. I'm convinced of it. And with the court heading into its 5th term of an all-out assault on the administrative state, can you say right place, right time? It's all there. Take a little doing. But when you learn with my documents, oh, by the way, to learn more about my document packets, send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com. Modestly priced document packets with issues that you've never seen, and even in most law schools. And by the way, a quick note here, we use the Berserkly just across the way from where I am. And I started out in California 40 odd years ago in Hayward. And I'm calling out that sick bastard Erwin Chemerinsky, who's the head of the law school there, for an open a cappella debate on the real issues of constitutional law. And I'll do it in front of your whole goddamn student body. And they'll see within 90 seconds who knows the law and who doesn't. And that's what I did to him in South Carolina in my case 8 years ago. I got hauled across the country. It's a long story, but bottom line is I won the case in the first 90 seconds of the arraignment. Any of you attorneys out there ever do anything like that? I did it. Shocked the hell out of them. But they weren't expecting it. And boy, that's $1 million video if I had it, but they claim not to have made it. How convenient. But I know the issues. I'm passionate about it. I was put here on this good earth to make changes. And that's what I'm going to do before I go out of here. And I'll be 76 September. And it looks like I got a good 8 to 10 years here. I just wish I had gotten started 60 years ago out of high school. That would have been a whole different thing, but better late than never. So that said, good news for all of you here. And like I said, send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'm also looking for help with solicitation and finding investors, for to invest in my work. God, I can't think of the word right now, but venture capital, whatever, for want of a better name. If there's anybody that knows that, I have the portfolio. And we're going to make things happen here before the end of this upcoming term with the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, once the quote-unquote election gets out of the way and the inauguration, and assuming Trump wins, they can now get two younger justices and they'll be in business the next 12 to 15 years there. And that's going to be happy days for all of us. It's that good. Like I say, remember to subscribe, tell your friends, get the word out. And we will see you next time. Send me an email, by the way, uwinnincourt@gmail.com. Information about my modestly priced materials. Absolutely amazing what I've been able to do. But I've got a divinely gifted grant from up above, a lot like John Nash, for those of you who know the story about him in a movie called A Beautiful Mind. Anyway, I'll talk longer than I should here, but tell your friends, get the word out. We are ready to strike them down when the court comes back into session in October. Thank you.